right? We can easily fall into fear. So are your fears or faith driving you? The second question was, are you where you can be? And the third one was, are you leaning into your unfair superpower? Which all of you have one. And then the fourth one was, what are the silly stories you're telling yourself? What do you guys think?
Sorry, I came in a little late, so I missed the context or the all the questions.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Hi. I was talking about, so our topic is reviews and referrals today. And I was just at Gary Keller's top team mastermind. In fact, it's still going on. I jumped out for you guys. And he was asking them 4 questions. And I'm like, I'm going to bring this to you guys because we could apply it to this topic. The first question was, are your fears or faith driving you? So are we not stepping into asking reviews and referrals because it scares us? Or are we stepping into them because we have faith that it's going to bring us a great outcome? Second question was, are you where you can be? So as you're asking for reviews and referrals into your system, into your language, right? Are you doing it the best you can do it? Are you where you can be? The third one was, are you leaning into your unfair superpower? And you all have one. You all do. And are you leaning into that superpower? And then the fourth one was, what are the silly stories you're telling yourself right now? So what story are you making up in your head that is actually holding you back and not moving you forward? Anybody want to jump in on any of those?
I can jump in on the first one with the fear versus faith. I think that I tend to, with reviews, jump in more with faith because the worst they can do is either ignore me or say no. I'm not afraid of asking for the reviews, and I tend to read their language, like not their body language because I don't see them, but kind of just read them and see when a good time is to ask for a review. I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah, part of it is EQ, right? If they're calling us and they're really unhappy with something, we're not going to ask them for a review. Yeah, like that would be the worst time. Yeah. And if they're telling us how great we are, like, we better be asking.
Yes.
Yeah. Who else? Who connected with another one of the questions? I was talking to Lisette today because we had a coaching call earlier today and she was going to try and make it because she was actually talking about her journey on this. And her realization was that it naturally becomes a part of your language. So what she's becoming really good at is fitting it into the conversations she's already having. So Shannon, it kind of goes along with what you said. Right? You start reading people, you start knowing when the appropriate time is. And she was making it its own thing, but now she's gotten to the point where it's just becoming part of her language.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of worked in with my reviews as well. Like if I'm, even just having a texting conversation with someone and they start like going off about how much they love what we've been doing, I just say, hey, if you wouldn't mind, like we'd love if you put that in a review. It's just catching them at the right time, and working it into conversation helps too, just like you said.
Yeah. And if it doesn't come up, how do we steer the conversations so that it you have the conversation Shannon just described, right? So if they don't naturally go there, how do you create the conversation so that you bring them there?
It's usually when I do like some check-ins with them, in the middle of at the beginning of the transaction, in the middle, and then at the end, just checking in. And then after the transaction's closed, I'm constantly checking in with them to make sure everything went smoothly, whether they had to, pick up their proceeds check or they were moving into a new house. I just check in with them, and at the same time, I just kind of ask if they'd like to leave us a review, ask for some feedback, anything like that.
Yeah. Awesome. What are your guys' superpowers? I know operations love talking about how they're so special, and you all are. What's your superpower?
I came on a little late. What superpower in reference to what? Sorry, this is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
In general, right, we're specifically talking about reviews and referrals, and your superpower may not be directly correlated to asking for reviews or referrals. It may be, hey, I think my superpower is over here and I don't know how it relates to this topic, or it may relate directly to this topic. What is your superpower?
Well, so with the reviews, I have been having a lot of success with getting the co-op agent, lenders, and escrow officers to review us on Google and or Facebook. And how I do that, and I think since the beginning of the year, I think I've probably gotten 15 to 20 from transaction partners, not necessarily my clients or the clients. And it's just an email that I send out after every transaction directly to the person, asking them to go on and refer me and then promising to do it back or give a review.
So Michelle's superpower is thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I got to get reviews somewhere. They're easier too, because I'll promise to do it back, right?
Yeah. I love that. Well, what's your superpower? Maya, what would you say Anna's superpower is?
There's not only one superpower that she has.
Okay, give us a couple.
Well, she's, learning very quickly. She's a problem solver. And I feel like I can rely on her, even though she's been with the team for like 4 months now. So I think that's a superpower to be able to, handle a team that's producing as ours is, so well as she's doing at the moment.
Anna, what do you think Maya's superpower is?
Thank you, Maya. Maya's superpowers are problem solver as well. Like she's managing, I don't know, 10 different things, I would say, at minimum. Creative, very creative. Like she can think of the idea in, I don't know, she gets a problem, she solves it, and then she gets an idea how to make it even better. So yeah, I would say that's top 3 probably, but there are so many more.
So how could we put, and this is a question for the whole group, how can we put a superpower of being a problem solver into being advantageous in reviews and referrals? How many of you are problem solvers? I was gonna say, if you don't all raise your hand, there's something wrong. That is what you do all day long, right? Is solve problems. How often do you tell your clients about the problems you solve? You just solve them and quietly sit in the background, don't you? What would happen if we called our client and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know about something that came up today that I took care of for you? And you don't need to worry about it, but I wanted to fill you in on what happened.
I think it goes back to making it just a part of your natural conversation with them. And, you know, for those doing weekly check-ins, using that time to say, hey, I took care of this X, Y, and Z, and you might not even have known about it. So hopefully when they respond, they're like, great, I'm excited to close. Just going with that flow and being like, hey, you don't have a lot going on right now, since I'm taking care of all of the hiccups along the way. Would you mind leaving us a review? And again, just reading that vibe and energy, taking the opportunity to update them on things that they don't know that are going on behind the scenes with the like 150 tasks we complete to get to closing.
Yeah. And it actually does a couple things for us. One is it re-solidifies our value, which right now with what's happening in the market, we want to be constantly doing is solidifying our value, right? So that they get what they're paying for. And when they don't know what's happening, they don't realize anything's happening. So we want to re-solidify our value, and it also creates an opportunity for us to ask for that review and referral. What stories, and may not be a story that you're telling yourself today, but what stories are you telling yourself or have told yourself in the past?
I guess for me, like referral wise, it could be if somebody's been just not very nice and not polite to work with, they just seem like they're absolutely crazy. I kind of tell myself, you know, oh, we won't get anything out of this person. Like I'm definitely not gonna be able to ask for a review. It's just gonna make them mad. But the further you get along in the transaction, the more comfortable they become. That kind of changes. So I've had some people who start off really stressed out, and by the end of it, they're so thankful that I'm just like, well, I'll give it a shot, and I ask them anyways, and they end up leaving one. So it's just, I'm telling myself that we're not gonna get anything out of this person, but for review wise, but then that sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of times it does. You can kind of work them out of that attitude that they have.
Yeah. And buying a house or selling a house is super stressful. And we are not on our best behavior when we're super stressful. I've always said that we should all have a psychology degree on top of what we do. So who, like Michelle, is doing something great with user referrals, or who would like to share their journey? Like maybe you weren't asking for them at all and you've started to, and this is kind of what you went through to get there. Because there's some of you on here who don't ask for reviews and referrals at all, right? So they may be behind you and want to hear, like, what have you done to get there? And those of you that are farther along the journey, like, how has that journey grown for you?
Okay, I'll go again. So part of my position as a transaction coordinator is to ask for reviews regularly. So I started out just kind of generically using like the templates that we had already written out, like that would just be during their check-ins and everything. And then I progressed to, well, now I have more communication with them. Sometimes I'm on the phone with them, sometimes I'm texting them. And then just kind of working it into the conversation, like we mentioned before, of just kind of, if you can catch them in that right mood, if you can tell that they're just very thankful for what's going on, they're happy, just trying to grab them when it's right. That works a lot of the time, and then especially immediately after closing, getting them right after closing. If the closing was smooth and successful, most people I've gotten, it was just a day or two after closing. They're like, absolutely, they're ready to do it. And then we also implemented asking the vendors for reviews, like Michelle had mentioned. We asked the lenders, the title company, anybody that we've dealt with. If we have anybody that we were using for referral or vice versa, referred to us, we ask them for a review and we leave them a review, same thing. We have a whole template that goes out after the transaction's closed, just saying, thanks for all your help. We loved working with you. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, we'd love to leave you one too. Just send us the link. And we've gotten quite a few from that as well. But it's really, my biggest thing is really just catching them at the right time. It's catching the clients when they're happy and not when they're stressed out, just really timing it. Cause some of them it's in the middle of the transaction. Some of them it's at the end, some it's at the beginning. It's really just feeling them out and deciding when that time is to grab them.
Client events are also really big for a push and a ask for referrals and reviews. We've done a couple of different like thoughts and ideas around that, but our most successful was a simple $100 Visa gift card at our spring event last year, which is a huge poster board with our QR code to leave a review, and it says, want to win $100. And people that weren't even at our specific private event were coming up and scanning it and just pushing 5 stars. We're like, will I get entered into the raffle? And we're like, yeah, sure, don't know who you are, you're not part of our event, but if you want to leave us a 5-star review, I'm not stopping you.
That's genius. Genius. I'm gonna steal that. Thank you for
We-
sharing.
Done other like raffle baskets and stuff, and it did not get as much attention as $100 cash will Venmo basically after the event. Probably like 50 reviews from it.
And you add them to your
Because-
database.
At the event, that one specifically was more family oriented, so there was a lot of like teenagers and things like that, so they were saying like, well, does it have to go to my mom or dad if I leave the review? And we're like, nope, it's all yours, spend it as you'd like. And they're like, all right. So we were also getting some of the kids from past client families and stuff as well. I don't care what you do with $100. That's between you, mom and dad.
So whatever you guys share, sometimes we get on this call and it's like, what I'm doing isn't important, right? I'm here to learn from other people. But that's not totally true, right? No matter where you are on your journey, there's somebody behind you. Or you have some idea that somebody hasn't thought of. So share what you've done, what your journey is. What's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, where you're having struggles. What do you guys do if you're asking for reviews over and over and you're not getting them?
Well, I think for me, it's one of the things is just asking through different mediums. So, so I don't actively work with the clients anymore. Our transaction coordinator works with them primarily, but there are situations because I kind of act as a listing manager also. So, so I will communicate with them. So usually, it's, you know, asking, you know, in a moment when they're like really happy, they're like, oh, thank you, Jen. You know, so happy, we're so excited about this client. I'm like, oh, you know what, you're so welcome. Listen, do you mind doing me a favor? And then I'm like, you know, would you be willing to write me a referral? And usually they're like, of course I would. Okay, cool. What's the best way? Do you want me to email you the link, or would you like for me to text it to you? So we use TC Docs as our transaction management like system. And so we have like a email template set up in there. So we email people requesting that. There's also, I'll text them, you know, as well as ask over the phone. And so And then I've also used in the past, I think it's Rate My Agent, which will send them something as well, to request that they do it. So generally, through one of those mediums, they will, write us a review. But I definitely think in some situations it just takes persistence for some clients, and other clients it's just, it's not that deep, so they'll just do it.
Jen, where are the reviews actually showing up?
So we have them go to Google, to our agent's Google profile, and post them there. They were originally posting them, like we had a couple different places, but now we've just focused them all in Google.
And if they don't have a Google account, have you had any pushback on that?
No, I haven't actually. Mm-mm. Yeah, I haven't had anybody say they couldn't. But that could also be a good thing to check into, like for people that haven't, like, make like just asking, like, oh, did you have any issues? Do you have a Google account? Like that could be another great way just to check to make sure that that wasn't the reason that stopped them, and to find out why.
Yeah, the reason I ask is Maya actually put something together that if you didn't have a Google account, Maya, you want to share it? That if you didn't have a Google account, like here are the simple instructions to be able to leave a Google review. Because it's
Maya,
something,
you're on mute if you're talking, if you think we can hear you.
Yeah. I'll share it with everybody. I'm just looking for it now. Mm,
and Maya's
just simple
test,
instructions on how to actually leave a review without a Google account.
and Maya's test was she had a couple of elderly clients that were able to follow the directions and do it. So we know they work.
Yeah, but just in case, I always send them also a realtor.com review request, just so, if they can't leave a Google review, then they leave a realtor.com review. Chat.
Is that what do most people like on this call, like where do you have your reviews? Where do you collect your reviews?
We do, I send out a request, I give them options, they can either do Google, Facebook. And then in addition, if there's a feedback link that goes directly into a back end of my system, so I can collect feedback as well as reviews. So I do just 3 systems.
Oh, that's interesting, Michelle. So how do you find people use that? Do you find they'll like leave a 5-star review and then send you feedback, or like how does that work for you?
So a lot of, depending on who it is, they'll do, if they do all 3, I send them about a week before closing. I send out all 3, a nice email with all 3 links. If they complete all 3, I'll send them a $10 gift card, electronic gift card through to Starbucks. So that's just a little extra step, more maintenance for me to have to do to check it every time to make sure. Then I'll send a follow-up email 3 days after closing if I still haven't gotten anything. And then the third follow-up is me poking the agent to poke their client, because sometimes the agents have a better thing. But most of the clients will do the review and then they'll provide feedback as well, which my boss likes to look at.
And is the feedback different than what the review is?
Typically, no.
No.
It's
That's
all good.
interesting. I actually asked that because I have a VRBO, and I have had people leave me a great review before, but then send me an email saying, hey, I didn't put this on the review, but you might want to add this to your unit, or right. So they'll give me feedback of something that they like missed or wished was there that wasn't, but they don't actually put it in the review. And I actually really appreciate that, because I don't want the public to know that, but I want to know that. So when you said that, I'm like, oh, that's actually a great idea. So if somebody wants to share something but doesn't want to do it publicly,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that is really smart because I know that I think I do that with Airbnb, like whenever I visit an Airbnb and they give you that option.
I've sent you the email. I wasn't able to share here.
Oh, you sent
So
it
you
to
can
me in
maybe
the
share.
email? Okay.
Yes.
Can everybody see that? It might be a little small. So when they get down to step 5 here, that is pretty small. I might have to download it to enlarge it. But when they get down to step 5 here, they actually don't have to create a Gmail account. They actually can put their own email in here. Where I always thought somebody had to create a Gmail account. There we go. It's a little bit bigger.
Is there a way we can, like, this could get shared with, I guess, the people on this call?
Sure, sure. I can email it to you because Maya sent it to me as an attachment. So I'll just forward that email to everybody.
Awesome, thanks.
What else, you guys? See, you all just learned something.
I am curious. So for the feedback that you collect, do you like use Jotform or what internal system?
Let me see. I think the way that I have it set, well, not I, but my VA set it up was. External feedback, it goes onto a Google Sheet automatically. So, and it's so simple. So I think the form, let me see.
So it sounds like it's a Google form.
Yeah, let me see. Let me do it. I just sent one out. So yeah, it's a Google Doc form. Is it letting me share my screen?
It is, yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so this is what goes to the client. So when I send this, this client part, this is for a client. If it's a co-op, it'll say co-op and then lender and then escrow. And each one is just, the questions are just a little bit different. They're different because, they have different roles. So then they can go ahead and fill all of this out. And then this last one is not required because sometimes they don't like to share, right? So then on the back end, when it comes to me, so this is feedback from co-ops. I just have 3 so far this year. My client feedback, I have more last year than this year. And I don't know where my other feedback is. Event. But yeah, anyways, so all of those are used. This is where we are creating them in Google Forms. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's great because part of the reason we want to be talking to our clients too is what gaps are they discovering in our systems and processes, right? That we're not aware of. Or what things can we make better? How can we make their experience better? And we have no idea because we're not on their end of things. And it works both ways. Like if they're confirming, hey, I had this great experience and I don't have anything to say for you to improve, that tells us we have pretty dialed in systems and processes. So one of the
Yeah, I think just something that just kind of came to me just now is, more I've been more, apprehensive towards like asking people about because like you don't want to get rated, you want to get judged. But then as I just was thinking about it, really communicating to our clients, like we know we're not perfect, so we want you to give us the opportunity to tell us where we can be better, how we can better serve. Like we're actually really interested in that. And the only way for us to know is for the people that we're actually serving to tell us how to do that. So just really communicating that more than just saying, would you give us a 5-star review? I think training my team to really communicate that we're looking at how do we elevate our experience. Because typically when I've come from that space or when I've asked clients, like, is there anything we could do better? And they're like, no. It's like I'm kind of shocked because I'm like, you can't find one thing, but and like you said, but sometimes that is the case. Sometimes people are like, yeah, no, you guys have done great. You're really awesome. So I think creating that kind of context for the clients is a bit more empowering for me than being so concerned about getting a 5-star review.
Yeah. And that's my conversation with operations people about asking for reviews and referrals. Ultimately, the foundation to all of that is we want to know if we're doing a good job. We want to know where our gaps are. We want to know where we can improve. Ultimately, if they have a great experience, it brings us more business. And as an operations person, I always want to know, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? What are they thinking that they're not communicating to me? And this opens the door to have those conversations. So how many of you are starting with the promise initial introduction scripting? Anybody?
Like, yeah, I do most of the time.
Okay, Michelle, how have you worded that for your intro call?
I simplify it an awful lot and I just tell them about, our team, we have this promise to make this experience 100% easy and flawless for you. Of course, there's going to be some mistakes because it's real estate and we're people. However, we're going to do everything we can not to let you know about those mistakes. And, if we can live up to our promise, we just hope that we can get a referral from you. Because just to show us that you believe that we're the very best, something along those lines. And then it kind of just depends on how much of a relationship I already have with them via emails prior to the introduction call. And then a little later on in the transaction, just say, hey, just checking in to see if we're keeping up on our promise. Is there anybody that we can help with real estate right now? Usually it's a no, but you just ask. And it just, if you have a little drunk monkey on your shoulder telling you that you sound silly or that they think that you're begging them or asking them for something, typically people want to help. So if you even say, hey, we're having a contest with all the transaction coordinators in the office and we're seeing who can get the most referrals this month, who do you know? So I don't know, just make it seem natural and it seems to work.
Yeah, that's the key. When we're super nervous about it and we're uncomfortable asking, they pick up on that and that makes them uncomfortable. It's all on how we present it. If we just ask how their experience has been so far, which that conversation sets us up for that question. When we start our introduction call with, hey, our goal is to make this whole transaction as stress-free for you as possible. Right? And there will be some things that won't go the way we want them to, and we'll have to work through those. And our goal is to make it as stress-free as possible. I'm going to be checking in with you along the way to see if you have any feedback for us, or if there's anything that more we can do to help. Right? That sets them up for those later, the later dialogue where we're going, hey, how's your experience been so far? It's been wonderful. Awesome. Would you leave us a review? So it's no different than the agent scripting. Like, they do everything in an order for a reason. When we make that intro call with that promise script dialogue, however we want to word it, but the gist is we're going to be checking in with you to make sure you're having a great experience, because that's our goal, right? That's however we want to say that. That's what we want to say. And then along the way, we're doing those check-ins. They don't think twice about it because we told them up front that it's really important to us that they have a great experience. And put yourself in their shoes. If you tell me you want me to have a great experience, and then at the end of every call you say, hey, Paula, how's your experience been? How does that make you feel? Like, it makes me feel like, wow, they really do care about my experience. And to Shannon's point, it's her gauge whether to ask for a review or not. Paula, so far this has been an awful experience. My agent dropped the ball on this, and then this happened, and my lender isn't getting my stuff right. That's my gauge. And I also am aware of a problem right now that I might not have been aware of, that I can jump in and help solve. Because you're all problem solvers.
If I can, how many referrals per year do you guys get actually?
Yeah, from following up with clients,
Yes.
only like 2 or 3 for me. The agents have more success, but I think they're asking more.
What about from your partner relationships, Michelle?
Oh, no, I don't really get are you meaning like vendor partnerships?
Yeah, your vendor partnerships.
So our lenders typically give their referrals to the agents directly, because everybody has their preferred agent. Escrow officers, I don't don't even think they give out referrals to anybody. But like my vendors who we hire and, refer out, I get a couple from them a year, but I also have I get other things from those vendors as well for like team events and things, but yeah, my success isn't that great, so maybe my processes aren't, they could use some fine tuning.
And Michelle, this is the other thing, because you put it on the agents are asking. What I have found when I start having operations do this is agents are as afraid of asking for referrals as we are. We think they aren't, but they are. They tell themselves their own stories. I've had them tell me their stories. Like, I had a rainmaker say that I don't want to ask for a referral because then they're going to tell me everything I did wrong. And I'm like, how are you even connecting those two dots? They are as afraid asking for referrals as a lot of operations people are. What I have found is what happens when we start asking for referrals, 99% of the time, the answer is no, but what it does is it plants a seed and gets them to start thinking. Then when they have a referral, they call their agent because that's their initial contact, right? So they actually give the referral to their agent, but it all happened because we asked.
Planting the seed. I like that.
Yeah.
So Paula, what would be like a feasible amount of referrals per year from our clients, you know, during the transactions.
During the transactions? Okay, so let's say we're
Yes.
doing, let's say we're doing 100 transactions a year. What are you guys getting when you look at how many referrals you get from your transactions per year? If you were doing 100, what percentage would you get?
I don't have the number.
And I'm asking that question to the whole group, Maya, so not putting you on the spot, just asking the whole group, like what would they expect? And I don't mean referrals just from us asking, but referrals coming back to the team from our transactions. Ashley, do you track that at all?
Yes, I'm actually looking in CTE right now. So
By the way, Paul, I think we said like 20%.
20% is what I expect is where we really want to aim for turnover from your database. Are you talking about your goal is 20% referrals this year?
I believe that we were looking at CTE on one of our coaching calls and that we had like 20%
and we were
of
looking
our
at,
business.
okay, gotcha. And I don't think 20% is unusual when we're actually doing the work.
so we've had 61 closings so far this year, and we've had I think I just counted 19 referrals, but that's between agent referrals and sphere referrals, past client referrals. I didn't include like you know, anything that we got from like Clever, Home Light, or anything like that. So
Okay,
just a few.
so when we're setting up, this is great, Maya, I'm glad you brought this up. When we're setting up our sources, like in CTE or whatever, if we're doing it on a spreadsheet or in CSU, Sarah, it might be good to set up a client referral source, because a client referral will tell us that a client actually referred them, as opposed to like a past client referral, which came from a past client, or a agent referral or sphere referral, right? It would actually segment that group out. So
So
Maya, that's
what
a
I was
great
asking,
question.
actually,
because-
yes, that's what I was actually asking. I'm wondering, you know, Patrick told me some metrics that he would like us to meet, and you know, he would like to see a certain percentage for, you know, from our, you know, our current transactions, getting referrals from our current transactions.
And what did he,
He, you know, gave me a pretty high percentage, but I would like to know, you know, what the experiences are. Is that even feasible to have like, I don't know, 20% of all transactions, you know, to produce a referral for us, to me directly?
so this is my philosophy on it, and you guys can share what you've done or what your thinking is on it, because I'm not saying my thinking is correct. This is just my philosophy. When we go into something and we don't know what the conversion rate should be or what our goal should be, I always say just pick one. It truly doesn't matter. We just want a goal, and then we do everything to get to that goal. And if we're doing everything we can do to get to that goal and we only hit 50% of it, well, then we know 50% was the number, right? We just didn't know. Or if we hit 150% of it, we know that we were short when we were thinking of our goal. So if we're diving into something the first time, tracking something the first time, like pick it. And what Patrick did was absolutely fine. He picked a number. He thinks it's reasonable based on his experience. If we're doing everything we can do to hit that goal and we fall short, then we know that it was a really high goal, right? And so when we reset the goal for next year, we might set it in more of alignment with where we ended up.
Okay.
Which also means don't get tied up too much in that goal. Like we want to win as operations people, right? We want to know we're doing a good job. We want to crush everything. We want to know we're winning. And when we have a really high goal and we're having trouble getting close to it, we can feel like we're losing. When you're in that scenario, you have to just remember, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. So it doesn't, I'm going to get as close to that goal as possible. And no matter how close I get, I'm winning.
That's a great point, actually.
I think it's hard for putting percentages around referrals and reviews because each team also looks at them different. Because I do differentiate a lot of the sources and tags within our database in Sisu. But for us, we focus specifically on our 57 touch and the reviews and referrals generated around that. Obviously, we're getting like other agent referrals and what have you, but that's the number our team at least focuses on. But it doesn't mean that any other perspective on it is right or wrong. I could definitely look at specifically like this year's client referrals versus general past client referrals. So it's hard to quantify sometimes too when you're comparing different teams' perspectives.
And you're right, we can't make a goal for every single thing that we do. We
Yeah.
track our numbers because we want to know what our numbers are and where we're succeeding and where we're not. And yet, if we made a goal for every single thing we do, it would be overwhelming. So it's usually when the team makes goals or our rainmakers makes goals, it's usually because they see a gap or a place we can grow. And so they make a goal around that because they want it to be the focus. So Maya, in your case, you guys haven't asked for them before. So Patrick is like, hey, this is a place that we haven't done anything before. I want to grow in this area.
Yes, that makes sense.
I think too, for us, if it's helpful for other people to know, we pick focusing on the 57 touch because that has money tied to it, so we can run an ROI and kind of use those numbers too to help support that, whereas the referrals are absolutely important and but you're not necessarily running an ROI, you're just putting systems in place and hoping to hit a certain goal or percentage for the year, but that's just, there's a lot more variables to that, which makes it just a little bit more difficult at times, depending on the market and what's going on. So just a different way to think about it too. Because I know exactly how much I'm putting into the 57 touch every year.
And when we create an ROI, we're creating business, right? Because if she's focusing on the return on the investment, well, you can't have a return on investment without having business. So all these things are growth minded. So it's how are we growing our business in our world? You guys, everybody on this call, I believe, has the mindset that you're there to contribute to the business and help grow the business. And can you all think of a time in your life when a job was just a job? You were just going in and you were given a job description and you just checked all the boxes on the job description. Can everybody remember some point in their life where they did that? When you grow in a business, in a company, as a person, you start to realize a job just isn't a job. You actually contribute to the bottom line of whatever business you're working for. And it's not just, I'm just going to to a job and checking off boxes, I'm actually contributing to the growth of that business in some way. And what does that look like? Which is also job security. So when you think about reviews and referrals, who's having challenges? I know you all are. You just need to share what the
I
challenge.
think with this topic, it's the best one to continue to revisit because it naturally ebbs and flows. I feel like we have periods of time where we have a bunch of amazing clients who do everything right and everything's so smooth. And then you've got 20 files that are all disasters and everything's on fire and so it's a little bit harder with those people to be like, hey, let's all be positive and pretend it's rainbows and butterflies, even though closing is being delayed again. So I think this is always a good topic to jump in and out of just as new people come and go into our world with pendings and listings.
So how do you get a review from that client who's had a really rough transaction?
Rein them back in. Just sweet talk them a little bit, you know, make sure you wait till the dust settles, get everything squared away in their, you know, in their favor, you know. But make them happy, do what you need to do to calm them down, talk to them on the phone, answer every call, answer every email as quickly as you get it, and just rein them back in.
But too, matching their speed and personality, because sometimes letting some time pass, knowing that emotions are extremely high, and while we could wrap something up late at night at 8 o'clock, letting them sleep on it and having a full night's rest and saying, hey, let's plan to connect first thing tomorrow morning, but not just being like, okay, let's squeeze this in and jump on the phone at 8 o'clock to just say we did it so that it's done. And being real with them of saying, hey, this isn't how it should have gone, but X, Y, and Z wasn't in our control. So now we need to look at what realistic options are for moving forward to get to closing if that's what you still want to do. I think people really like when you're showing that empathy and compassion, just like, okay, you know, if this was me, I wouldn't be happy either. However, given how things played out, we don't have a magic wand, unfortunately.
And you hit on something really important, Sarah. And this is where I go back to the psychology degree, right? It's being able to read people to move forward when they need us to move forward and to give them time when they need time. You reminded me, so when I was a TC for my team, I also negotiated all the inspections. So the inspections were totally on my plate. They were my job. And one of the things I would do is send the inspection report over and then set a time to talk to them. And I always made sure there was a gap. So I would send it the afternoon before and then talk to them the next morning. And it was super intentional. I did that so they had time to read it, get really angry because somebody's picking on their house, digest the information, think it through, and then by the time I got them on the phone, they usually had gone through the whole process themselves and were all ready to like, okay, we're willing to do these items. Right? Or these are the items we want to ask for. It gave them that space, and I wasn't doing it with them on the phone, right? I gave them that space to digest everything, work through it on their own, and then come back. And those people who were still upset, right, then I could say, hey, this is normal. We typically see this on every house, or this is what we can do instead, right? I had a solution for them that then smoothed the rest of it over.
I think just like with a lot of other areas through the transaction, setting those expectations at multiple times throughout is super helpful. Like with inspections, before the inspection even happens, our agents are like, you know, it's exciting, it's nerve wracking, but ultimately at the end of this, there's 4 outcomes. So they kind of have that expectation of like, okay, these are my 4 avenues, regardless of what the inspection turns up.
Yeah.
So then when we circle back, it's like, okay, which one are you picking? Option A, option B, option C, or D?
Yeah, it's like the agents who were really good when the market exploded, right, in 2021, when it exploded and we were multiple offers, those good agents set the expectations right from the beginning. Hey, you're going to be in a really competitive negotiation. These are the ways we can negotiate, right? And they would go through all the different types of negotiating points, like waiving inspection or waiving appraisal, what that looked like. They could go through all those points. So by the time they found the house and they were ready to go under contract, they were prepared for what they were willing to negotiate. So how can we do that on the transaction side as we take them into our world, right? Now somebody's gone under contract and we're taking them into our world. How do we set expectations with them? Because that makes a better experience too, which goes to reviews and referrals.
I think the easiest is again coming back to that weekly check-in to recap the previous week and set the expectations for the upcoming week, just because there is so much variability between each file. So giving them the heads up, but also not having necessarily the week 1 through 10 or whatever it is, templates all lined up so that we can take that time and be like, this is where you're at, here's what's happened, here's what's coming. So it might be like, woohoo, we finished inspections, next up's appraisal, and here's what you can expect from that. It's gonna be about a 7-day turnaround for the report to come back. And even once it's back, we've got X, Y, and Z to go over so that they're not emailing us every day being like, do we know the value? Do we know the value? Like, it hasn't even been scheduled. We'll let you know when it is.
Yeah. I'll add one more thing in. If you're on the listing side of things, you don't have to wait until you're under contract. If they've had a great experience and they've gone active, ask them for a referral. Review and referral, but ask them for a review. You don't need to wait till closing for a review. I see that happen so often and we miss a lot of great points where they could leave a review. Okay, what do we want to do next month? Nashi, Abigail, Michaela, Marianne, if you guys have any ideas, any topics you'd like us to talk about, you can jump them in the chat if you're not comfortable sharing. What challenges are people having? Best method of communication within the team. That's a great one, because communication is usually underlying any problems we're having. Does it sound like a good one to everybody? Yeah. We're all such a talkative group.
It sounds good. Let's do it.
Oh, so Michaela writes, since Mary is out with a baby right now, I have a lot of files, a lot. So communication is definitely a good topic on making sure you know where every file is. Yeah, that's a great topic because it's really big, right? So we can dive really deep into one section, or we can talk about a bunch of different types of communication. So wherever you guys would like to take it. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your month and we'll see you next month.